Being the month of January, it is the beginning of a new year, and one of the first and best ways to start off the new year strong for your financial future is to start using a budget where you can track where your money is going. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I track my expenses using a budget spreadsheet that I created years ago, and why I think using a spreadsheet is the best way to track your expenses. And there will also be a link in the description bar down below for you to download the template that I have for free. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrienne. I post videos every Monday on all things investing and personal finance. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go ahead and click the subscribe button below so you can stick around. So since it's January, I really wanted to help you guys just start off the year fresh. So this month is just going to be about getting started on the right foot for your financial future. This video is going to be me walking you guys through step by step how I track my expenses throughout the month. This is like the least flattering lighting I've ever had, but I did want to film this really quick. So to keep track of my budget, I use a spreadsheet that I created several years ago, like back when I was in college, and I've adapted it over time just as I've found things that work better. And I will have this template down in the description bar for you guys to download for free. I'm gonna go from camera mode to computer screen mode. So this is what my budget spreadsheet looks like. It may look crazy to you right now, but in a second, hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. So in these columns right here is where I put my expenses. So I put my expenses here along with how much it was, and then the date I put right here. So I take those expenses and I categorize all of my expenses into one of 5 buckets. So the first bucket is my giving bucket, and the second is my carb stuff. The third is my house stuff. The fourth is my personal stuff, and then the last one is other. Right now it's like medical stuff and travel. I also track throughout the month my income. So I have income from my normal job, but I also have income from like side hustle things that I do. I will track all of that in these columns right here. And then as we go over to the right, I actually categorize my income. So I calculate the total income that I've made for that month by like categories, by my job or by certain side hustle like babysitting or something else. And then I also track the amounts that are in each of my accounts. So my savings accounts and then all of my investing accounts. So I have 2 different savings accounts, and then I have a Roth IRA, a Roth 401k, and a brokerage account. And I like to do that because I like to track the amount that my accounts are at the beginning of each month, because I like to see the progression over time. And so in the first column, column K is what I call it, is my initial balance, which is what I generally give myself as a guideline as a budget for that month. I really only put like general guidelines for how much I intend to spend that much, only because I don't personally live by a very, very strict budget because I'm naturally such a strong saver. So generally when I want to spend money, and that urge doesn't happen that often, it's very uncommon for me to really have the urge to buy something, I let myself spend. So it is rarely an exorbitant amount of money. These amounts here are just guidelines, and generally if I'm over in one area, I'm usually under in another area, so it kind of all evens out anyways. But for the overall budget, generally I put my general monthly budget in this box right here, and then this box over here calculates my monthly budget minus the total of all of my expenses that I put in. And so this is basically my balance of how much I have left to spend, even though that's like a general guideline for me. So on the first day of the month, I start with a very bare bones, fresh spreadsheet. I keep 1 year in a sheet on Google Sheets, and then I separate different tabs by month. We are on December right now. So the first day of every month, the first thing I do is I go in and I put the balance that each of my accounts are at. So I put the balance of each of my savings accounts, and then I also put the balance of my Roth IRA, my Roth 401k, and my brokerage account. So I'm gonna do that right now. And then also what I do on the first of the month is I give my tithe. And so that's one of the first things that I put in my budget. If you don't know what a tithe is, that's just the amount I give to my church. But a tithe is by definition a 10th of your paycheck. That's just the money that I give to my church every month. And then so I pay that, and then I also pay my mortgage. I think it gets taken out of my checking account, I think the 2nd of every month. And that's really all I do on the first day of the month. But throughout the month, usually like 2 or 3 times, I'll go in and update my expenses with the various credit cards and checking accounts that I have. And so today is actually December 5th. We are past the 1st. I already put the amounts for each of my accounts in. And so now, since today is December 5th, I'm going to go in and update my expenses that I made since December 1st to December 5th. So for me to do that, I just go on, where's my phone? Y'all, where's my phone? Oh, it fell behind the chair. What I do is I have 3 credit cards and I will go through each of them and then add my expenses in. So I'm gonna start with my USAA credit card, even though there's usually not much on there. So the only thing that's on my USAA credit card is my insurance. So that's insurance for both my car and my house. And then I'm gonna go to my checking account because sometimes things get taken out of my checking account. I have my mortgage taken out, and then I also have my HOA. And that was taken out yesterday, which was the 4th. Okay, now that I did that, I'm gonna go to my 2 other credit cards. I have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, and so that's what I'm gonna check next. The charges that I have here are my gym membership, which was charged on the 3rd, and that is $129. And then I also support a few missionaries, and so I track that too. And that was charged on December 3rd as well. I have a couple pending charges. I have my Spotify. Gotta love Spotify, guys. And then I bought gas today, so that was $32.96. The last credit card that I have is an American Express Gold, but I don't charge much onto I don't have anything charged onto that card. So that's all I really do. And I do this a few times throughout the month. So what I do is once I have all of these expenses in, I go in and I color categorize them. You can see here I have different colors for the different buckets. So this is my giving, my car stuff, my house stuff, my personal stuff, and then other. So I go in and I categorize these expenses, and then I will add these expenses into their categories. So my car and house insurance, I usually just add that into my car insurance because it's not far off. And then my gym is personal, so I make it purple, goes into my workout category. And then the missionaries that I support, I put in my giving column, and then my HOA goes with my house, and then my Spotify I put in my subscriptions category, so that's also purple, and then gas is green because it's my car. So that is what I do. I'm gonna leave this at that for now, and I'll come back later in the month and I'll update it with more expenses as the month goes on. I do this probably 2 or 3 times a month, or sometimes if I'm just feeling like looking through my budget, because I get like giddy over these things. So today is December 5th. I will catch you guys in maybe a week or so, but to you it's gonna seem like a second. So okay, so I'm literally the worst. This entire month, I knew I needed to go in and update my budget, but because I just didn't feel like ready to film, like usually when I do this, I'm bumming it and I just never filmed it. Today is December 30th. All of the expenses that I've made for this month, I have yet to put in, other than the ones I just told you guys. And so I'm about to go in and put in all of my expenses for the month, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I did before. I'm gonna go through my checking account and then the 3 credit cards that I have and just update that. First, I'm gonna go through my checking account and see if there were any additional expenses. I just went through my checking account. Now I'm gonna go through my USAA credit card, which only has 1 expense. And now I'm gonna go through my Chase Sapphire Reserve card, putting in the expenses I made for the week of, I think, the 6th, and I did a video on everything I spent. So if you do want to see that, I will link it down below. For the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get a $60 DoorDash credit every year, and I hadn't spent all of my credit, and so I bought a plethora of bagels for my family. It was like $26, but I got credited back $20.41, and I usually put in what the full amount was, and then I just subtract what they credited me back. It ended up being like $6, and then I have 1 pending purchase, which was a book. Okay, and that's it for my Chase Sapphire Reserve. And now I'm going to go to my American Express Gold account. Okay, this expense was actually me and 3 friends. We went to a restaurant and then I paid and they all Venmo'd me back. So I'll put in the full amount and then I'll subtract what they paid me back for. It was $49.56, and they all paid me back, I think, like $12.50 each. Okay, so that is all of my expenses put into the left column here. And now what I'm going to do is color coordinate them and then add them into their appropriate category on the right. All right, so I put in all of my expenses. It's basically the end of the month, so I don't anticipate there being that many more expenses. But what I'm gonna do probably on like the first or the second of the year is I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna finalize all my expenses, and then I'm gonna add them into my annual budget. So I will catch you guys when I do that in a few days. Welcome back. Today is January 3rd. I'm a couple days behind on doing this, but I wanted to finish off and show you guys how I pretty much conclude my budget for each month. So the last time I checked with you guys, I had pretty much put all of my expenses in. It was one of the last days of the month. I think it was December 30th. So what I'm going to be doing is just finishing off any last expenses that I had, and I'm going to go in and put my total expenses from this month and put them into my overall annual budget. I'm going to do the same thing that I did the last 2 times that I recorded this. I'm going to go through all of my credit cards and checking accounts, which it's only been 2 days and I can only think of one expense that I made in those couple days. So I'm checking my checking account and there's no additional expenses, and I'm going to check my Chase Sapphire Reserve. I do have one expense on my Chase Sapphire Reserve for gas. Gas was $31.64. So that's it for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. I'm going to check my American Express Gold. Okay, so when I came back from California for the holidays, I got food in the Denver airport, and I got Qdoba, which was $9.62, and I also bought a donut from Dunkin' Donuts, and that was $1.53. So those are all the expenses. I'm gonna quickly go ahead and put them into my categories. This is what I would say is my final budget. So what I will do is now I will, where all of my categories are, I will just take a picture with my phone so I don't have to keep going back and forth. And then I have one tab at the beginning of my whole overall budget spreadsheet, and this has all of my expenses for the entire year. I have another tab on this whole sheet that has all of my expenses for the entire year, and I will take categories that I put each of my expenses into, and I will input them into here. I just use the picture I just took, and I will go ahead and put the numbers in. Wow, I didn't go to the grocery store at all in December. Oh, no, I did. I just have a lot of grocery gift cards. That's what happened. All right, put all of my expenses in for the year, and my plan is to do an entire other video on how I budget for a year. This video is just how I budget for a month, where I will go more into depth of this aspect of my spreadsheet, but I will still make this available to you guys if you want to access it. Okay, so to wrap up my whole budget, what I do when that month is over is I'll check the columns of my initial balance and what I actually spent and see if there were any huge discrepancies. If they were off by $10, it's not that big of a deal to me, and if there is any sort of big discrepancy, I'll adjust for the next month. And also another thing to note is I pay my bills, so my credit cards, my mortgage, my electricity, I pay all of those on different days of the month, just depending on when they're due. Some people don't like seeing that there is a bill due. I typically don't pay bills until the absolute last day that they are due, and that is because although this sounds like a very small amount that you would get, your money is making more money sitting in a savings account than it would be if you were paying off your credit card bill before it's actually due. If your credit card bill is due in 2 weeks and you pay for it now, you're losing the interest that you would get if you waited the 2 weeks and then paid. And it does sound like a small thing, but it's those small things that make a big difference in how you overall see your finances. There are a few observations that I want to share with you guys about this entire process that I've learned. There are several apps that you can use that automatically sync your expenses so that you can budget through your phone phone. However, I personally find that manually putting your expenses in makes you feel the purchase more. So you really feel the money that you spent. It's not just like you swiped and the money just like went nowhere. Or even using like pencil and paper or the notes app on your phone, or honestly even cash is not a bad idea because you actually feel the purchases. And it also makes me be more thorough with all of my accounts to make sure that there hasn't been any charges that I didn't do or that I didn't actually make. And this is also very, very important because I've always talked about how it's really important to know your money. So that goes for knowing your money in your investments. It also goes for knowing your money in your expenses. So where your money is actually going, what you're spending your money on. And one thing I will note, as harsh as this may sound, is that being oblivious to your money is really only going to hurt you. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you learned something. This being the first video of the new year. In the comments, let me know what one of your financial goals is for this year. I would love to read your guys' comments and what you are hoping to achieve. With that said, I will catch you guys next Monday. Bye guys. Is this shaking? I'm not even gonna go there.